Hello, I'm Jill from New Forest Water Watch, and in this video I'm going to show you how to sample safely, taking a sample of water which we're going to test for E. coli. I've chosen a firm surface. Here we've got concrete steps. We might be faced with alternatives such as riverbanks over there. That doesn't look very good for sampling because it looks as if it's unstable. So take great care when you're sampling to choose a nice firm site if you can. And obviously get down as low as you can to the water. There are also two bridges on this site and they'd be very suitable for sampling. So I'm using an extendable sampler. I could well be using a jam jar on a piece of string, but whatever we do, we need to make sure we don't have to lean out on one leg over the river. Notice that I'm in fairly sensible shoes and I'm in disposable gloves. So I'm going to take a small sample in the river. We need to rinse that out, and this has been sterilised beforehand. So there's a sample of river water. So I'm now going to show you how we use our water sample to test on one of these cards, and this is called an R card, and it's part of the equipment that you're going to need for this next stage. So for the next stage you need an R card. In fact you need three. You need a disposable 1 milliliter pipette or a disposable syringe. You'll also need your gloves, which I've still got on me, and you will need an egg incubator. So we've got one of these outside to show you that you need it now, but we've got one set up indoors, and we would advise you to do this before you start testing so that it reaches temperature. We've probably been out here for half an hour and it's just about reaching temperature now. This is an R card, and it's a very safe method of measuring E. coli. It consists of a grid on a piece of card with a plastic lid which comes up, and the card is impregnated with a gel which will absorb the water. Or when you put the lid down, it means that the gel absorbs the water and it doesn't spread over the edge. That makes it very, very safe for fieldwork sampling such as this. Imagine doing this with a Petri dish. It would be slopping everywhere and profoundly unsafe. So what we're going to do is put this on a flat surface. Now, we're very lucky to have a table here. If you haven't got a table, you can do it on the ground, but it has to be flat. You can also take it home if you wish. You can do it inside, but you have to incubate within 3 hours of the instructions, but that's temperature dependent. So if it's a warm day, 3 hours is too much because bacteria will multiply in that time. So what we're going to do, I've just taken this disposable pipette out. We're going to take up 1 milliliter of our sample of water. I'm going to do what one should do, take out a bit too much and then empty it so that I've got exactly 1 milliliter of water. Okay, so we've got 1 milliliter of water from the river. What we're going to do now, Chris, if you could take the plastic back. Right, now it needs to go flat on the ground. You now drop your 1 milliliter of water into the center of the card. Be very careful because it sometimes doesn't reach the edges. So I'm watching where it needs to go. Right, that's 1 milliliter of water. And what we do now is roll it back very gently, no pressing, over the R card. So there's our R card, and you can see the water spread. We've now got to wait here for about 2 minutes for the water to be absorbed onto the gel. And I shouldn't be holding it, it really needs to be level, otherwise it will spill out at the edges, which we don't want. So 2 minutes before we pick that up. Okay, so when you've taken that water sample, we're now up to 2 minutes. You repeat this twice, giving you 3 R cards in all. Now, this is significant because if you are to challenge a water company or the Environment Agency on an E. coli leak, you need your results to be reliable. You need them to be accurate, and we've shown you how to be accurate, but for reliability, you need 3 results, and we'll be taking the average. So I'm only putting 1 in for the moment. That's going into a Ziploc bag. Now I could, as I said earlier, I could take that home. But in fact, we've got an adjacent just indoors here, which is very convenient. So I'll now show you how to incubate. So we've come indoors with our R card, and here's the incubator that we set up before we started. Going to show you what it's like inside to start with. Notice that it's insulated with polystyrene, and this is part of the setup. So this needs water in it. We've already got a little bit of water. I'm using this small water bottle. You can also use a syringe. So we need to pour water in there so that it's almost up to the height of this platform as it is. These incubators come with 5 rollers. You don't need 5 rollers because we're not hatching eggs. So I've taken 2 of them away. Now I'm going to take the R card. Remember that we should have 3 of these, and they can go on top of each other. I slightly offset them. I'm still in my disposable gloves, my nitrile gloves, and we simply lay those on top like that. And we take a note of the time, the date, and we keep that incubating for 24 to 36 hours. Now, the jury's out as to what's best. It should be a minimum of 24 hours. Sometimes at 24 hours you see tiny spots which could develop a little bit further. So I tend to leave it to 36. Don't leave it to 48 hours. Remember, we should have 3 in there for replicates. So we can't show you that on this particular video. So I brought one from earlier to show you now what you do after 24 hours. So the blue dots are colonies of bacteria, colony forming units. There may be 1 bacterium in there, there may be thousands. What you do is count the dots. Now it's easiest to count row by row or column by column, and you can see I've done that. 24 in row 1, 27 in row 2, 31, 19, 15 and 4. You have to make up rules, especially if you're doing this with someone else. If we take, say, that dot there, is it in that square or that square? It doesn't really matter because it's in the same row. But if you've got them on the edge of a row, like that one, is it going to be in row 3 or 4? You have to make some arbitrary rules up to do that. It's a very good idea to take a photograph of this at this stage, and you can share it with other people and they can cross-check your results. It's also very much easier to count. So I've counted every spot. If you could add up the rows, it comes to 120. Now the final part of this is, it's on the back, you have to multiply those 120 spots by 100. And the reason for that is that E. coli is measured in CFU per 100 mil. And if you multiply 120 by 100, you get 12,000 colony forming units, 12,000 CFU per 100 mil. And that gives you some indication as to what 12,000 CFU looks like. Water that's not fit for bathing. Okay, when you've finished, you've got to dispose of everything very carefully or treat everything carefully. So if you've sampled with a jam jar and string, you need to reuse it. So here we've got a container full of diluted bleach, ordinary bleach, and I'm just cleaning everything in this. Our extendable sampler is going in and the cup with which we measured. So next thing to consider is when the R card has developed spots like this one. So remember, these are colony forming units, colonies of bacteria. It's one that we did earlier. You have to dispose of that. Now this is really quite safe at this stage because the gel has set, everything's inside it. Nevertheless, you've got two options. You can put it in your bleach. I'm not going to do that because it's going to drip, or you can just spray it with something like a Dettol disinfectant. And then you will simply put that in your waste bin like that. Finally, you've got various things that you used for sampling. The pipettes, I would just douse in the bleach solution and pop them in the bin as well. Don't be tempted to reuse them because you don't know at this stage what's in the water. Your Ziploc bag that you had your R card needs to go in the bin. And finally, take off your gloves for the last time. Your disposable gloves, these are nitrile gloves, and pop these in the bin. So, all done.